We wanted to follow up. We wanted to follow up on Leslie's presentation a little bit. Well, I'm just going to pass it off to Katie.
Cool. So today we invited Leslie because she has inspired so many of us and really helped our schools grow and improve and all of that. So thank you so much to her for inspiring us. And I think I watched Leslie's presentation similar to this with you. That's when we both maybe started our library or sometime around that point. And it was a total game changer. I started extensive reading at my school, and so Leslie said, I wanted to say this, she wanted to be the book whisperer, but I believe that she is, because she has encouraged a lot of us to start extensive reading programs at our schools, and that's made a huge impact on children in Japan and education, and so thank you so much for that inspiration. Yeah. And so the only reason that I want to follow up is most of the things that I do at my school, I was inspired by and learned from Leslie, but when I went to her first presentation, like, her kids were like reading really long books, and I was like, oh my gosh, but my kids aren't there yet, so how am I going to do this in my school? And so I really believe that it's very valuable to have an extensive reading library at your school, and I think I highly encourage it, but I think in the beginning it's quite discouraging. How can I start this in my eikaiwa with my kids reading CVC and their moms aren't that on board, and what can I do? So I just kind of want to share my journey a little bit really quickly on how I started to do that at my school. So I got all this information from Leslie, and then the first thing that I did was I had to build a library, and it did cost money at first, but I think that it was well worth it. I like what Leslie said about like choosing series that the kids are going to like and investing in those. And so for me, it was really important. And I think for my beginner readers, it was important to get like phonics readers at the beginning that are easy for my kids to read, that they can feel successful when they finish reading them. So I invested in like Springboard Connect and like eFuture phonics readers, Jolly Phonics. I think Lawrence uses that too.
Yeah.
And for my new first grade or second graders, that was really simple, and it just gave them like that confidence to get started. And they felt like they could do it, and they felt like they accomplished something. And then once they kind of got that confidence, then I would kind of introduce books how Leslie said. There's a phrase, there's like a expression for it, I forgot what, like just teacher shared, I guess.
Shared reading?
Yeah, I guess, not shared reading, but when you give them like the options, like you show them. Anyways, but what I did was I did pretty much just what Leslie did.
Oh, you mean teacher read alouds?
Yeah, teacher read alouds. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I did teacher read alouds. I also agree that is the most successful way to get your students to choose new books. And so I would think, okay, my students are kind of, these readers are too easy for them. If I just told them, why don't you level up? Why don't you try a more difficult book? They'd kind of just be like, whatever, you know? But if I just took a different book that was a little bit, I+1, a little bit more difficult for them, but more interesting, because the more you can read, the more interesting the books can become. And so I would try to find nonfiction readers, like Oxford has nonfiction, like phonics ones that are really interesting for my kids. And that would be kind of like the next step up, or Oxford Reading Tree. And I would do read-alongs with those and then put them on the desk. And then the kids would also start to check out those books and kind of level up. And another thing that I did was, so then the next part, step 2 for me, was to model and encourage. So for me, modeling is the teacher read alouds. And how else did we encourage? So we also had the students write their own books, not just Pete the Cat, but books about their family, their own stories. And we put all of those into our library as well. Here, she's reading a book about her family, I think, and there's a love story. So that was fun to try to make the library like ours, everyone's together. And then I also did something, because kind of to go along with Nam's question, I don't know if he's in here at the moment. Yeah, they are right in front of me, sorry. I also felt like, okay, my kids aren't reading the books at home. So how can I fix this? A lot of the kids would be like, well, if they don't have CDs, and so what can you do? And so I started the class off by doing the reading time, and then let the kids choose, and then they could sit with partners or small groups and read the books together. And then that's how they could choose which book they wanted to borrow, and then they could borrow the book. And then sometimes I encourage kids to choose, if they read 3 books, to choose one book that they enjoy the most and to read that to their group. And that would kind of be like their peer recommendation. But for me, them reading the book before they checked it out, and then maybe the next week at the beginning to share it, at least ensured that they read it. And so for me, that was kind of how I got them to read it. If they read it at the beginning and it was too hard, I would say, are you sure you want to check that book out? Is that a good level for you? I didn't say they could or they couldn't, but we could have that kind of like conversation and the kids could think about it. And so I think that process was really important, at least for my school, to try to encourage kids to read the book. Like Leslie said, it needs to be solitary so the kids can read and enjoy the book on their own. And I also agree. But I think at the beginning, to get my kids on board wanting to read and to build the confidence for them to be able to read the book at home, I think that was really successful for my students. And then step 3 is I want to help my students celebrate success. So to try to create the reading environment for my students to want to read. So we did a couple of things. We would give our students like, yay, you read a lot of books this year, kind of just like a paper award at the end of the year, or we had classroom challenges. So I want to show you that, just a little bit of things. This is the library at my school. This is like a little kind of reading corner, and I was inspired by Leslie's bookcases as well. So this, my husband actually made this little shelf, but we have lots of picture books and readers, and I always kind of change them out according to the season or whatever's happening. And then, so like this is Halloween time of year, Christmas time of year, and things like this. And then upstairs we have one more classroom, and that's usually where we teach really little kids, so that's usually always picture books there. But sometimes the kids from downstairs will say they want to borrow picture books to read, so then go upstairs and choose a picture book, so that's okay as well. And then finally, I just wanted to show you some ways that I encourage my students to read and celebrate success. So one year we made the yellow book road, and then if my students read 25 books, then they could get a brick on the yellow book road. And so I don't know if it's good so much to always, have these external things, but for my students, that was just a good way for them to say, oh, I read 25 books, good for me. They could decorate a brick and put it on the yellow book road. Yeah. Yeah, so that was just one idea that we had. Another thing that we've done, we're going to do it again this year, is called Reading Town. I was inspired by like Dobitz and Amori or whatever. And the class, it was like a classroom challenge, and for however many books they read, they got points, and then it was like an average, and then they could buy parts of a town with their points. And so it wasn't for any particular prize. It was just to encourage each other and just to kind of keep each other accountable. And I think as the kids get older, things like this weren't so necessary, and the kids don't really care once they get to 3rd grade. But I think for the 1st and 2nd graders and things, maybe 3rd grade, I think it really helps just give the kids something to help them just think about it. I think for us, extensive reading goes like in waves. So the kids will check out lots of books and really love it and really enjoy it, and then it's like, we kind of get busy doing other things, and then I'll be like, okay, we need to do something to get them back on the train again, and that's just me, and I don't know if I can do it a better way. I just wanted to share kind of like my honest experience of how I got my kids to read books at my school. But either way, all of these different kinds of things. This year we did like submarines, and instead of building towns, they just could go deeper into the ocean, and they had all their pictures on their class submarines, but I never took a picture of that, apparently. But anyways, it's just been kind of this challenge. Also, one more thing I wanted to show you is in this little portion, one way that I separate my books is by level, so it makes it easy for the kids to choose a book that they like. We just put like a little circle sticker, so like red, yellow, green, whatever, in the order of the rainbow, so the kids can know like if they're just reading CBC, they should choose a red or a yellow stickered book. They don't have to, but it's just kind of a guide to help them choose the books. And I also split the books in kind of like series order, so that they know like I like this series, they know where to find it. That's something to help them find the books easier. And yeah, that's kind of it. There's lots of good series, E-Future or like Elephant and Piggy. The kids like Biscuit. I don't know. I'm happy to share the series that are popular with my students and anybody that's interested. Just give me a message anytime. And that's kind of my school's library. Does anyone have any questions?
There was an online comment saying, please post these photos in the group.
Oh, okay, yeah, I just posted. Yeah.
They're really, really, really
Well, because they can't see the photos.
They can, but it's not super
Okay.
clear, but I think they probably want to have it for inspiration, so if you have a chance, just throw them in the InTogether group with the event groups.
Okay, cool.
And so that's my library, but we also have Lawrence's library. It looks like this. Is there anything you want to say about your library?
Not really.
We saw the cool part about his library.
Yeah, I mean, this is you saw this already, and we split it up, and you said you have like the younger kids upstairs and the older kids. We have ours here on. This is the front. These are all picture books. We separate them by topics, and make it easy for our students to return them. On the back side, this is where we do our level readers, and so say we split from a CVC, a little bit more difficult CVC. We found that students need to level up a bit more, kind of feel that motivation. So we had maybe 4 levels. We split them into 8 into 10. It's arbitrary, but the kids feel like they're improving. Yeah.
Yeah, we also use like Japanese people created like yomiyasu level. I don't know if you guys know that. Yeah, so we used to put that, not on the new books because I don't have time, but at the beginning, I did that. Now I just put a sticker. Yeah, it's just my choice. But the yomiyasu level was actually Japanese students leveled the books themselves. But I think it's more for older kids. It's not so important for our own. And then next is Teresa's library. Do you want to share anything?
Well, the one on the left is all the kids' books, and they can take 2 or 3 home as they like. I don't have a book reader. I trust them to bring them back. If I lose a book, I notice and I go, oh, shogunai. I'm not a hoarder. But if I find the book again, I buy it again. And the books that they really do, like the newer kids, they love the Maisie books, because they have the English and the Japanese, and I got like the big set. So if I find them, I put them in the book library, and then I change the theme. Every month, I might be rabbits or animals. The next one, it might be something like gardening. And the standing bookshelf is all the higher graded readers. Okay. And I'm more of a private teacher, so I take 2 or 3 in my bag, and then I show them to my private students, and they choose one. Or we read together as they like. Actually, the Black Cat series was quite popular because of the stories. You can't really see them because they're in a stack. They're in the corner, in the middle. They're the Black Cat series, and they have a CD in there. So if I read to them, then they can use the CD to listen to the story. And it can be put into a computer, not a CD player. Yeah, I love this stuff.
Yeah.
The library is a really important part of my school.
Nice. And finally, it's Elf's library. Yay.
Yeah, you can see the 2 pictures on the right. For those with OCD, I apologize about the I know, and I was like, oh my gosh, why is it on an angle?
I did that because I
I did that on purpose. Causing trauma in our audience. The kids on the right, just an iPad hooked up to a wireless Bluetooth scanner using Leslie's system. And then similar to other people, these are the ones in the short one. These are the picture books, and then these are the graded readers. The higher up they get, the more difficult they get. So, yeah, that's it. Ta-da! So you have your graded readers like by color, like whatever, red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. Is that based on like whatever level textbook they're on? So like if they're on, it's based on how she feels that, yeah?
No, it's based on, so at first I started like yomiyasu level, so it's just really like the level of the book. So if it's just, yeah,
Are you talking about Yomi also saw like the SEG?
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, maybe you want to explain what that is, as I'm sure like a lot of people not.
It's like when extensive reading in Japan, isn't that what it is? And then, so they had a group of students, I don't know how many exactly, do you know,
So
Leslie?
it's SEG, so that's
Yeah.
that amazing Juku that.
Yeah, oh, I don't know, is it SAG's
Yes,
based?
yes,
Oh, yeah,
it's
okay.
Furukawa Sensei's project.
Oh, okay, but didn't the students level the books, they read the books and decided the levels and then they created the levels from that?
Yeah,
That's what I
that's
had
sort of,
originally heard.
it's
Yeah.
not it was kind of done a lot by feel, but it's a very, very good system to go by
Yeah,
about the difficulty of the book, and it starts really, really low.
yes,
There's a lot of graded readers, if you see on the back, they'll only go by the SEPR, the Common European Framework.
yeah,
They'll say A1. Well, A1 is just,
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
Huge, yeah.
it's just a huge difference in A1. So Yomi Yasusa really breaks it down. They start with the easiest readers. So, and all of that's, it's all available. If you look up SEG, Yomi Yasusa,
Yeah,
you can find these lists on the internet
yeah.
for download.
Great.
That's what I did at the beginning, and it does help the kids know if the book is worth their level. And the reason it's not by book is because students in the same book can be totally different reading levels. So it's also kind of that whole idea, like Leslie said, the kids should be able to choose whatever book that they want. And they also have for example, just last week, I had a girl who's just starting to read, and she borrowed like the simple CBC book, but she also wanted just like a good book, right? So she wanted a Oxford Reading Tree book that's level green. And I said, it might be difficult, but she said she reads with her dad. Perfect. So I said, that's a great book to read with your dad. So it kind of is up to the students to make all the decisions on their own. And I really took that from Leslie, but I really think that's valuable advice. And I want to thank you even for that, because even for my own daughter, I was like, whatever book you want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yes.
It was really hard for me, but it really helped, I think, my daughter enjoy learning to read as well.
If
Yeah,
your kids read crap literature, that's fine. They're reading. I mean,
yeah,
it's because a lot of times, like another thing, about comics, like people get really excited about comics. The kids shouldn't be reading manga. That's bad. But the thing is, like a lot of studies show that kids will read that, but then eventually they'll get bored with it, and then they'll move to something more difficult. So
Also, vocabulary is vocabulary.
true.
yeah.
That's a very good point too.
So I just wanted to share. Boom! But I just wanted to share kind of like that Leslie gave me all this information, and this is how I created this at my own school, and this is how everyone else kind of went with that. We also use Lixon Library. It's super great. It's really fun. The kids love having a card. They love scanning it. It just makes it feel more like real, like it's a real library, like this is something they're supposed to do to check out books. And it's super easy, and you don't have to do anything to get it started. So Leslie didn't pay me to say this. It's true. Like, it's a great system. So thank you.
Yay.